Casey's Audio Vault.
Edwin from Crash Karma.
December 2nd, 2009.
Hey.
How's it going today?
Fantastic.
Edwin, you got a new band, Crash Karma, and there's really not too much known about you guys at this point, except that you got a top 10 hit with Awake. And I looked this morning, it's actually number 5 on the active rock Canadian charts. That's a pretty good start. You guys feeling pretty good?
Well, I just found out about that myself about an hour ago, so I'd have to say yes. That's pretty good, especially when you look beside it and you don't see a record company name.
Yeah, well, because there's that one column, and it says Warner, it says Universal, it says EMI, and yours just has a bit of a dash. So, still no label.
Well, we're working on it, actually, but I just love the fact that we're doing as well as we're doing without one. I think it's inspirational to other young bands that it can be done somehow, some way. It can be done. You don't always need the big push from a record label, although it helps.
Do you feel a little bit more free to pick and choose since the single is doing so well?
Well, in our particular case this time around, we actually made the record on our own without going into debt to anybody. So, yeah, we feel totally free and clear to pick and choose as the offers come in.
With all the collective experience in the band, are you thinking maybe just go indie, or would you rather have a major just for all the distribution and all the stuff that comes with it?
Well, that's been a major bone of conversation, I should say, not contention, in our band. I personally wanted to try and do it without a big record company, because of our pedigree in music in Canada, because I feel that we do know more than we knew the first time around in our previous bands. I want to see how we could do without a record label. But I've been convinced that you still need that label to do the distribution, to put in the marketing dollars, to help fund a video, et cetera, et cetera. I did want to do it all myself, or ourselves, I should say, but we will entertain the thought of signing with a label.
So at this point, obviously you can't say too much. At this point, you're talking to a bunch of labels, and you're just going to make up your mind in the next couple months?
Not really a bunch of labels, just a couple suitors we have right now. And, we're still in that phase of, is it worth it for us or isn't it, But we will most likely go with a label, but they have to make it worth our while to go with a label. We're not just going to give up, half of everything to get very little return from their end as far as how much work they're going to put into it and how much, marketing they're going to put into it. Because really, that's what you need a label for, is A, distribution. But even nowadays with the internet, you don't really need distribution as desperately as you did 10 years ago. But you do need the marketing dollars behind you to make people aware of it, and so people know what's out there as the record hits the streets.
And some bands need it to actually make the album, but you guys have made the album already. How long has it been ready for?
It's been ready. Well, actually, we just kind of put the final touches on it last week. And we've had the luxury of our guitar player, Mike Turner. He has a studio, and that's where we made the record. So we did have the luxury of having, no record company standing on our shoulders going, look at the clock, there's another $1,000, there's another $1,000. We actually got to make it at a comfortable pace, but at the same time pushing ourselves. But it gave us some time to experiment in the studio and see, sometimes you don't have time to experiment, but in this case we did, and I think we came up with some pretty good, at the end of the day, results.
The immediate buzz from Crash Karma came from all the familiar faces in the band. You from your solo work in I, Mother Earth, and Jeff Burrows' Tea Party, Mike Turner from Our Lady Peace. Amir is a little bit less familiar. Where's he from, and how did you guys get hooked up with him?
Well, Amir was in a band called Zygote. It was a very popular Southern Ontario band. They never got the big record deal or anything like that, but they did have one on the table a few years ago. But the band kind of folded when that opportunity showed up. So Amir went off to Australia, studied law for a while, came back and still had a deep passion for music. Through a mutual friend of mine, he met up with me at a coffee shop to discuss help co-writing with me on a couple songs for my new record. I didn't know who he was, so I was just sort of letting him buy me a coffee at the time. And then we just started talking about how cool it would be if we put this band together with these guys in it. And I thought to myself, well, that'd be great if we could actually get Jeff Burrows, a drummer from the Tea Party. I've always liked Mike Turner's work, so it could be kind of cool, but I really don't think those guys will be into it. So Amir kind of ran off with the idea, and he approached those guys and told them I'd do it if they'd do it. And next thing you know, we were all sitting in Mike's studio looking at each other going, are we actually really going to do this? And we started doing some recording and some writing. Amir brought in a few songs, and we started jamming on those and trying out the ideas. And it actually just clicked from the beginning. And, there was no, egos, no garbage between us. It was just like, wow, this is awesome. We've always respected each other musically, and now we have an actual chance to make a record together. We don't know how it's going to do, but let's just make a great record anyhow. And then it just sort of took a life of its own from there.
A supergroup is kind of it's a big word these days. We got Chickenfoot and Them Crooked Vultures. It's also a bad word to some of them. How do you feel about the term?
None of us love the term, but we realized that it was going to be used to describe us at some point. Our basic outlook is we're a group, and hopefully we can reach super.
Well, you guys played a couple shows recently with a super group, if you will, Stone Temple Pilots. Do they still have the skills from the old days? Was it cool playing with them?
It was great playing with them. We're all big fans. We were very excited about the show. We played with them in Toronto and in Kingston a few days later. Their crew, the band, everybody was great to us. It was a lot of fun. We got to play on a big stage as opposed to, play in the clubs at this point. The crowd was awesome with us, and, we'd kick into a couple of the pedigree songs, and I'm Mother song, or the Tea Party song, etc., and the crowd would go crazy, and then, we'd build on it from there. And STP was great. Scott wasn't moving around as much as I would have expected him to, but he sang great, and the show was actually something that made us want to be a better band.
I didn't see the show here in Winnipeg, but when STP came through, I heard the voice. Scott's voice was great, but he didn't move just like the old days. He wasn't a maniac on the stage. Yeah,
I was kind of expecting that too. So, but he was sort of subdued physically, but yeah, vocally he was right there.
Have you known them for a while? Because I was reading somewhere that I Mother Earth recorded Dig at the same time in studio as Stone Temple Pilots were doing Core. Is that true?
That's true. It was way back in the early 90s. We were down in L.A. in Rumbo Studios. We were in the big studio, and Stone Temple Pilots was in the slightly smaller studio beside us. They were recording Core. We were making Dig. And, two bands in the studio obviously are going to run into each other. So we'd play pool together. We'd shoot some hoops in the back court there. And, just go listen to some of their stuff. They came and listened to some of our stuff. It was just a couple bands that nobody knew of trying to make their first record. And now I look back, and it actually was a really special time.
Have you been bartending lately? Because I see that you're at the Tattoo Rock Parlor. Has the shifts gone down?
Well, to be honest, when I'm not playing or recording or touring, I like to keep busy and make a couple bucks on the side. So a friend of mine was opening a rock bar, and he kind of asked me to be a presence, a personality there in the bar in the beginning. And so I said, yeah, sure, it could be fun, It's like an upscale rock bar. So I said, yeah, okay. And in the time we've been making this Crash Karma record, as opposed to me sitting around on the weekends or trying to go to a bar and stand on the other side of the bar on weekends, I decided to be on the safe side of the bar. And I don't know, I get to meet a lot of fans. I get to, really hear the fans' perspective if people come and say hello or just want a picture or get drunk. And so it's a lot of fun. It's kind of cool. But I'm sure that as soon as this band releases our record and we're touring, I won't be doing that anymore.
When you go to other bars, do you critique the performance of the bartender?
I'm a little more lenient now on the bartenders because I realize, what they have to go through on a really busy night. But as long as, they're doing their best, no, I don't critique them. As long as I'm not standing there for 2 hours trying to get a drink, then I'm good.
What's in a whiskey sour?
Whiskey and bar lime.
Are you good with all the drinks at a cocktail party? You can man the bar and people can call out drinks?
Yeah, my cocktail knowledge has grown exponentially in the last year or so.
What's in a Brandy Alexander?
Oh, come on, dude. It's a rock bar. Nobody drinks Brandy Alexanders. You get your ass kicked if you order a Brandy Alexander.
That's true. So if you were to guess, when do you think the album's going to be out? When do you think you're going to have a Canadian tour?
We're planning the tour in March.
Okay.
Probably first, second week in March we'll be out there. We're going to hit all the major cities across the country and a couple secondary markets.
All right, well, we'll keep our eye out for the new Crash Karma CD, and we'll be looking for your tour dates coming up. Edwin, thanks for coming on the Rock Report.
My pleasure. pleasure, Casey.
All the interviews you want on iTunes and at Power97.com. Casey's Audio Vault.
Casey Norman is Power 97's music director and can be heard every weekday from 2 till 6 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
Power 97 is Winnipeg's best rock.